Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day. Today, we're diving into a story where a single ragged doll hanging from a tree turns a quiet farm into a battlefield of whispers, while one mother quietly pushes for a marriage that could shatter two hearts. Who's pulling the strings behind the threats? Is love strong enough when suspicion points to someone closest to home? Stay to the end as we follow Alex, Lytuna, and a web of secrets tightening by the hour. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what comes next. Afternoon light pours through Mrs. Puang's window, bright and warm, but the glow only sharpens the tension. Across the coffee table sits Mrs. Hugh, fingers hooked around her handbag. She leans in with a smile meant to sound casual and lands a little too hard. Puang, you know our kids. Mai and Alex are a perfect match. Say a word, nudge him, help them make it official. Mrs. Puang lifts her cup, calm as always. Hugh, I love you like family, she says, gentle but anchored. Alex is grown. I don't involve myself in his love life. The words hit. Mrs. Hugh blinks and the smile freezes. Hope slides off her face, leaving something brittle beneath. Her nails press the strap. The room holds its breath. She stands. I understand, she says, voice thinner than she wants. At the door, Mrs. Puang walks her out, eyes apologetic yet unmoved. The latch clicks. Outside, a small wind lifts a strand of hair from Hugh's brow, and with it, the last trace of patience. She breathes in, counts 3, and thinks of Mai. If the front door won't open, there must be a side gate. In the car, she stares through the windshield at nothing in particular and everything at once. The plan reforms. Soft moves failed. Harder ones begin. Dawn at the farm arrives by breath, not by bell. Mist sits low over rows of greens, and Lytuna steps into it with a watering can and the kind of tired courage that gets you through most days. Dirt is familiar. Work is medicine. The first breeze is cool and wrong. Somewhere under the rustle of leaves, a warning stirs. She looks up. Then she sees it. A boy doll hangs from a high branch, ragged and gray, swinging on a loop of string. Red thread for eyes. A crooked sewn smile that makes her stomach drop. For 1 second, her body forgets air. Then the fear floods in. Hot, sudden, total. Who did this? It comes out a whisper, frayed at the edges. The doll turns with the breeze, and sunlight glances off the torn fabric like old stains. Her chest tightens. This isn't a prank. It's a message, not the first, not random. Her eyes sting, but she blinks the tears back and straightens. I've survived worse, she tells herself. She fetches scissors, climbs just enough to reach the string, and clips it. The doll drops, dead weight against dirt. She digs a hole behind the tool shed, shovel biting the ground in stubborn rhythms. Every scoop is a refusal. You don't get to live in my trees. You don't get to live in my head. She lays the doll in, covers it, presses the earth flat, and stands until her breath slows. From the lane, a few villagers pause, whispering the way people do when a story might be true, or might be bigger by lunchtime. Lytuna returns to the hose, sets her jaw, and waters the beds as if nothing happened. The performance is simple. I work. I am fine. I am not scared. Inside, a smaller voice curls around one name, Henry, and won't let go. She glances at the house, then back to the rose. Not yet. She'll tell Alex when she can look him in the eye without breaking. The wind stills. The farm goes calm. The calm feels like a lid. By late morning, the grapefruit orchard burns bright. Sun on leaves, heat on skin. Alex moves from tree to tree, checking fruit, sweat tracing a line down his neck. This is the part of business he likes. Hands on bark, not papers on desks. Lon hurries up the path, breath quick. "Brother Alex," she says, tripping on the last word. "People are talking. Someone hung a ragged boy doll at Tuna's place. Folks say it's the second threat. There was a stranger before." Alex stops so fast the world takes another step without him. He closes his eyes, and for a second, the orchard noise fades. Then guilt slips a blade between his ribs. Why wasn't I there? His hand tightens around a grapefruit until juice runs over his knuckles. Lon hesitates. "I don't know who did it. Some think, well, you know how gossip is." His mind jumps to Mai, not because he has proof, but because motive travels faster than evidence. He hates himself for the thought and can't put it down. "Could it be connected?" he asks, barely above a breath. "Maybe," Lon says, cautious. "Maybe not." But the whisper is catching fire. He looks toward the farm, tries to picture Tuna holding Henry and pretending the ground doesn't shake beneath her. The image kicks him forward. "I'm going," he says, turning. "Do you want me to cover here?" "Please, and keep your ears open." He lowers his voice. "Quietly." She nods. As Alex strides away, his shadow stretches across the dust, long with responsibility. Back on the farm, Tuna finishes the last row and shuts off the water. The silence presses. She wipes her hands on her pants, then on a rag. The grave behind the shed is necessary. She squares her shoulders. Work is done for now. Courage is not. They move in parallel, him through fruit and glare, her among soil and shade, thinking versions of the same sentence. "I should have protected you sooner. I will protect you next." Alex dials. "Lon, one more thing." "Yeah?" "Keep an eye on Mai. No noise, no assumptions. Just watch." "Understood." He pockets the phone and lengthens his stride. Tuna gathers the scattered tools, sets them in their places, and pauses by the shed, palm on the rough wood, like a promise. She smooths her hair, inhales, and lets the breath out slow. When Alex arrives, she wants to meet him standing. Somewhere, a door will open. For now, the farm holds its breath, the orchard counts steps, the town pretends it isn't listening, and the sky waits in silence. Gravel crunches under Alex's tires as he pulls up by the fence. He kills the engine and steps into noon heat. Tuna waits at the gate, chin lifted, eyes steady. For a heartbeat, they say nothing. Then he crosses the distance and hugs her, careful with the weight a hug can carry. "I heard," he says. She nods. "It was hanging there, like before, only worse." He releases her and glances toward the shed. "Show me." They walk past wet rows, the hose coiled by the tap. Behind the shed, the ground is newly turned. He crouches, brushes the topsoil, and stills. Anger rises, then focuses. "Thank you for cutting it down," he says, "and for not leaving it where Henry could see." "I didn't want that thing breathing our air," she answers. "I buried it to bury the message." He studies the fence, the ditch, the lane. "We'll add cameras at the corners, motion lights along the path, and a lock bar at the side gate. Today." "Will that be enough?" "It's a start. And I'm not leaving you alone until we find who's doing this." She swallows. People are whispering again. "Let them," he says. "Whispers don't decide our life. We do." They return to the house. In the kitchen, he fills 2 glasses. He sets one beside her, opens his phone, and messages a contractor, a guard service, and Lon. Lon replies first, "On Mai. Watching. No obvious moves. She's with her mother." Alex's jaw tightens. He types, "Keep it quiet. Tell me if she meets anyone unusual." Tuna rests a hand on his wrist. Don't accuse without proof. I won't, he says. I'll follow facts. I just can't ignore patterns. What pattern? Pressure here. Rumors at perfect moments. I can't prove a line, but I see dots. She exhales. Then connect dots carefully. A truck pulls in. 2 technicians hop out with boxes. Alex shows them the corners, entrances, shed, and trees. Every angle, he says. Clear pictures, no blind spots. They get to work. Drills bite wood. Cable slides through conduit. Monitors light up in the kitchen and hallway. The house feels like a ship with radar. As they test a motion alert by the back path, someone clears a throat by the fence. It's Mr. Bin, hat in hand. I heard about a doll, he says. My nephew saw a motorbike late last night. Black jacket, no plate, headed toward the Orchard Road. Time? Alex asks. Close to 11, Bin says. Could be nothing, could be something. It's something, Alex replies. Thank you. Bin nods and slips away. Afternoon leans toward gold. In town, at a cafe, Mai sits across from her mother, stirring a drink that doesn't need stirring. Mrs. Hugh smiles with practiced ease. You met Fuong, she says lightly. How did she respond? Mai keeps her expression smooth. Polite. Polite is distance with lace, Hugh murmurs. Don't worry, doors close, windows open if you tap. Mai's jaw tightens. I don't want windows. I want Alex to remember who we were. And I want you to become who you are, Hugh says. We will create momentum. People follow motion. Mai looks down. Mother, I didn't do anything at the farm. Of course you didn't, Hugh answers, velvet over steel. Stay graceful. Let noise exhaust itself. When Alex doubts, stand where he can see you. Back at the farm, the last camera calibrates. Alex signs the tablet, sees the crew off, and checks each feed. Clear. He exhales and turns to Tuna. I want you to sleep tonight. I'll take the couch. You have work. This is my work. His phone buzzes. Lan. Mai left the cafe with her mother, spoke with a man in the alley. Short chat. He gave them a card. Alex. Plate? Photo? Lan. Partial plate. Sending. Silver sedan. Sticker from a private security firm on the rear window. Alex studies the image. He's seen that logo on event invoices and siteboards. He calls a friend in procurement. Do you know this company? Who runs it? A pause. Cousin of an official. Basic guards, cameras, sometimes consulting. Why? Curious, Alex says. Evening settles. He cooks simply. Rice, greens, fish. They eat near the window. Conversation loops around harmless things, then lands where it must. I hate this, he says. That your days feel like checkpoints, that our love feels like a plan. She squeezes his hand. Plans are promises with steps. Night deepens. Motion lights blink at a moth and settle. Cameras hum. Alex sets alert thresholds and pulls a blanket over the couch. In the dark, he listens to the house breathe. After midnight, the alert chimes, soft, precise. He sits up, checks the feed. Back gate. A figure at the fence. Hoodie. Hands test the latch. Alex stands and moves to the kitchen, where he keeps a heavy flashlight. He opens the door and steps onto the stoop. Can I help you? He calls, bright and clear. The figure startles, turns, and runs. The camera records the sprint, the stumble, the kick of gravel, the jump on a waiting motorbike. No plate. Again. Alex keeps his cool, notes the time, sends the clip to Lan, and texts the contractor for a stronger bar at dawn. Then he locks up and returns to the couch, awake but steady. The night holds. Before breakfast, He prints stills from the footage, marks timestamps, and files a report online. He messages Lan to cross-check the sedan's routes. He circles the orchard at first light, counting tracks, measuring boot treads, and mapping likely entry points. By morning, news has already moved, without legs, faster than feet. The version that matters most is simple. A threat came, it was seen, it fled. The farm stayed whole. Alex pours coffee, hands a cup to Tuna, and meets her eyes. "We keep living," he says. "We keep loving, and we keep receipts." She smiles, small and real. Then let's start with today. After a failed plea to her old friend Fuang to push Alex into marrying Mai, Mrs. Hugh leaves determined to engineer the outcome herself. Meanwhile, at Tuna's farm, a grotesque boy doll is found hanging from a tree, the second threat after a mysterious stranger. Tuna cuts it down, buries it, and keeps working, but fear for Henry lingers. In the grapefruit orchard, Lan tells Alex about the threat. Guilt and suspicion flare. He wonders if Mai is involved, though there's no proof. Alex rushes to protect Tuna, installs cameras and lights, and asks Lan to observe Mai. That night, a hooded figure tests the back